bit key. You see how long it will take time to break the key. So here we will look at the triple DES. It was standardized for use in financial application, in 1985, I guess. The 3DS was incorporated as part of the data encryption standard in 1999. It uses 3 keys and 3 executions of DES. So make it very difficult for the brute force attack, you see. So 3 times they apply the DES, we call it triple DES. The function follows as encryption, decryption, encryption, EDE. If you look at the first part, you can see the encryption is EDE, encryption, decryption, encryption, right? There is no cryptographic significance to the use of decryption for the second stage of 3DS. Its only advantage is that it allows users of 3DS to decrypt data encrypted by users of the older single DES. That's it. So with 3 distinct keys, 3DS has an effective key length of 168 bits. Okay, that is used for the 3DS. So let's look at the guideline for the 3DS. The 3DS is the FIPS approved symmetric encryption algorithm of choice. The original DS, which uses a single, we already discussed, 56-bit keys, is permitted under the standards for the legacy system only. All right, but nowadays we use the 3DS. The government organization with legacy DS systems are encouraged to transition to 3DS. It is anticipated that 3DS and the Advanced Encryption Standard AES will coexist together. It is easy to see that the 3DS is a formidable algorithm, because the underlying cryptographic algorithm is DEA. So the 3DS can claim the same resistance to cryptanalysis based on the algorithm as if claimed for DEA. Further, with a 168-bit key, the length. So the brute force attack in this case is they are effectively impossible. No, the AES is intended to replace even the 3DS, but this process will take a number of years. Okay, but now we are widely using the 3DS. Okay, as explained here. Let's look at the advanced encryption standard. So the principal drawback of a 3DS is the algorithm is relatively sluggish in software. The original DEA was designed for a mid-1970s hardware implementation. Okay, so the 3DS, which has 3 times as many rounds as DEA, right? Of course, it's slower because 3 times you have to repeat the same thing. The second drawback is that both DEA and 3DS use a 64-bit block size. You see the block size of the data at the first time. For reasons of both efficiency and security, a larger block size is desirable. So because of these drawbacks, the 3DS is not a reasonable candidate for long-term use. So that's why they try to call for proposal. So that's why they get the Advanced Encryption Standard AES. So the AES supposedly to have a security strength at least equal or better than 3DS and significantly improve the efficiency, right? In addition to this general requirement, they also must be a symmetric block cipher with a block length of 128 bits and support of key length of 128 bits. So the key length 128, block length 128. And of course for the key length not only 128. The key length can be increased to 192 or 256 bits also. Okay, So the evaluation criteria included security, computational efficiency, memory requirement, hardware and software suitability, flexibility. All this must be take into consideration. In a first round of evaluation, 15 proposed algorithms were accepted and then try to, choose the best one and so on and so forth. Okay, so we don't want to discuss about those things. The AES uses a block length of 128 bits and a key length that can be 128, 192, or 256 bits. Okay, but here in this explanation, in this lecture, we assume a key length of 128 bit, which is likely to be the most commonly implemented. Okay, so we will start with so let's look at the AES encryption and decryption. So the 4 different stages are used here if you look at it. 1 of permutation and 3 of substitution, as you can see here in the figure. So the substitute keys, the substitute bytes use a table referred to as an S box to perform a byte by byte substitution of the block. We have a shift rows, a simple permutation that is performed row by row. Here you can see substitute, shift row, mix column, and finally add round key. Okay. So the mix column is a substitution that alters each byte in a column as a function of all of the bytes in the column. And finally, in the 4th stage, we have the add round key, which is a simple bitwise exclusive OR of the current block with a portion of the expanded key. Right? That is a expanded key you can see. Right? So that one also is a simple bitwise exclusive OR. Okay. So here you can see the structure of a full encryption round, okay, for the AES. So random numbers play an important role in the use of encryption of various network security applications. So here we provide an overview in this section. The topic is examined in more detail. If you want, I can attach the appendix E of the book for you for more information. So a number of network security algorithms based on cryptography make use of random numbers. For example, generation of keys for the RSA public key encryption algorithm and other public key algorithm. Generation of a stream key for symmetric stream cipher. Generation of a symmetric key for use as a temporary session key. So this function is used in a number of networking applications such as transport layer security, Wi-Fi, email security can be used, and also the IP security. That one we will discuss in chapter 5, 6, 7, and 8, I guess. Yeah, chapter 5 to 8, we will discuss about this kind of security. In a number of key distribution scenarios, such as Kerberos, if you are familiar with that, we will discuss in chapter 4. The random numbers are used for handshaking to prevent the reply attack. So that kind of attack also we will see later, no worries. These applications gives rise to 2 distinct and not necessarily compatible requirements for a sequence of random numbers. That is randomness and unpredictability. Okay, so one is randomness, the second one is unpredictability. All right, so the first one is the randomness. The concern in the generation of a sequence of, the random numbers has been that the sequence of numbers be random in some well-defined statistical sense. So let's look at the criteria used to validate that a sequence of numbers is random. One is the uniform distribution. The distribution of bits in the sequence should be uniform. That is, the frequency of occurrence of ones and zeros should be approximately the same. That is the first one. And the second one is independence. No one subsequence in the sequence can be inferred from the others. The first one, although there are well-defined tests for the determining that a sequence of numbers matches a particular distribution, such as the uniform distribution, there is no such test to prove independence. Okay, so rather, a number of tests can be applied to demonstrate if a sequence does not exhibit independence. Okay. So the general strategy is to apply a number of such tests until the confidence that independence exists. So that is the key factor here also, independence. So on predictability, in applications such as reciprocal authentication and session key generation, the requirement is not so much that the sequence of number be statistically random, but that the successive numbers of the sequence are unpredictable, because we want to make it difficult for the opponent to find out it. With true random sequence, each number is statistically independent of other numbers in the sequence, and therefore I can say it will be unpredictable. Okay. The true random numbers are not always used. Rather, sequence of numbers that appear to be random are generated by some algorithm. So we will see later also these issues. Okay. So here we look at the random and pseudo-random number generator. The applications typically make use of algorithm techniques for random number generation. You can see here we had a TRNG, which is for true random number generator. We have pseudo-random number generator, and then we have also the pseudo-random function, PRF. Okay. If we want to briefly explain this figure, basically the figure 2.6 contrasts a true random number generation TRNG with two forms of pseudo-random number generation, which it takes as input a source that is effectively random. The source is often referred to as an entropy source, sometimes we call it in essence. Then is drawn, can be drawn from the physical environment of the computer, could include the things such as keystroke timing patterns, these electrical activities, mouse movement, and the the pattern. So the source or combination of source serves as input to an algorithm that produces the random binary output. So you take something from the pattern, from the computer or whatever, and then you generate the random bit stream. So the TRNG may simply involve conversion of an analog source to a binary output. Okay. For a true random number generation with two forms of pseudo-random we discussed, and then can have two different forms of PRNGs based on application, which is a pseudo-random number generator and pseudo-random function, PRF. Algorithm that is used to produce an open-ended sequence of bits is referred to as a PRNG. Right? A common application for open-ended source sequence of bits is an output to a symmetric stream cipher. Okay? And then we can have a PRF is used to produce a pseudo-random strings of bits. That is basically how we can, generate the pseudo-random number. That's it. Okay. So the cryptographic PRNGs have been the subject of much research over the years, and a wide variety of algorithms have been developed. These fall roughly into two categories. The first one is the purpose-built algorithm. Okay, so these are algorithms designed specifically and solely for the purpose of generating pseudo-random bit stream only. Some of these algorithms are used for a variety of PRNG applications. Several of these are will be described in the next section later. And others are designed specifically for a use in a stream cipher. The most important example is RC4, okay, which we describe later. Algorithm based on existing cryptographic algorithm, like cryptographic algorithm, have the effect of randomizing the input. Right? Indeed, this is the requirement of such algorithm. For example, if a symmetric block cipher produces ciphertext,